Last video I spoke about quality as a variable, but I think it was a little bit abstract.
Yeah, who do you think you were? Jackson Pollock?
Quality is something you can observe, monitor and improve every session without always having to change exercise selection, rep sets or rest. You can focus in a session on just improving the quality of what you're producing. Now, regardless of what the training program is, if it's written down, you're focusing on a metric.
Mainly because it's too foo-foo to say do it how you feel.
So quality gets ignored for completion of the metric. Now, the mantra for strength training is progressive overload. This is the buzz expression right now. From a track and field background, I've always known it as small incremental gains, but it's the same thing. When people talk about and trainers write training, hopefully they're incorporating progressive overload. But they're taught that it can only be manipulated through intensity, volume, inter and intra-session recovery, and if they're really advanced, tempo. But if you add quality to the mix, really opens things up. Rather than it being an immutable standard, appreciate that it's a variable. And while, yes, you wouldn't deliberately drop the quality of the movement, ignoring the fact that every lift in every session has a variable performance level causes a problem. If you're only focusing on the quantitative metrics, you're only focusing on the things you can measure, and what you can measure is only a fraction of what you need to be paying attention to. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this.
45, 46, yeah, 47, 48, 49, 50.
I love the numbers and I love writing them down, but it doesn't tell the whole story. The story's in the nuance, the feeling, the expression. When you go to lift, you're problem solving. It's a physical Archimedes Pythagorasness. Ha! To all those people who say it's not rocket science. How do I move the weight from A to B and then back to A again in the best, most efficient, most effective way? And that problem is posed every time you do a movement. The secondary issue is how many times I did it and how much recovery did I take between them. The metric focuses on charting the secondary issue. I'd suggest that the real long-term improvement in muscle ability and muscle size comes from focusing on the problem solving. The quality of the performance is paramount. Only once you've rinsed out all the quality goodness from a particular session, which might take you a few sessions, do you move on to alter the quantity variable. Simply put, master the movement at a particular workload, then increase the workload and remaster the movement at the new workload. This concept stops you just going through the motions because you're not mastering a workload, but more importantly, it stops you progressing to the next level too soon. Now, I know this sounds like really obvious advice, but let me give you a scenario that I've seen, heard, and done thousands of times in the weights room or on the track. You're doing a program, so you go in for the session. You completed last week, so this week you've got to put the extra on.
You've been looking at my training diary?
You get through the session, you complete it, you don't fail any reps or sets, but you're on the edge as you're doing it.
You've been looking at my training diary?
The program says, well, you've got to go up next week because the only variable that's being adjusted is intensity, rep sets or recovery.
Stop telling me my training secrets!
The illusion the program's giving is that once you've ticked off that session, there's nothing else to be gained from it. In fact, if you do the same session next week, you're not progressing, which then turns into losing your gains that you could have made.
Yeah, you're trying to teeth my gains!
And in your mind, you're physically shrinking and performing badly. But this is all nonsense. There's a spectrum here. On one end is never pushing yourself and doing the same workout forever, and on the other end is once and done. There's a secret built into every training program and session that's never mentioned and sometimes actively discouraged. Talk. There is no shame. In fact, there's nothing but gain to be made in repeating a session as many times as you need to until you feel you have that session under control. That is the internal feeling of quality that I was on about. The last rep needs to be as good in quality and control as the first rep. In fact, I'd even go as far as to say, if you get to the last lift and you don't think you could have done one more, you need to stay at that level until you think you can. Because standing in the shower afterwards with the thought, I don't know how the hell I'm going to go up from that next time, is putting all your eggs in the recovery and supercompensation basket. And that's fine if you're chemically assisting yourself, because that's the major effect of it. It massively speeds up your recovery so you can supercompensate in time. But if you haven't gone down that line, listening to mantras like, yeah, leave it all in the gym, go to failure, woo! Or,
So dead at the end of the session, I was nearly throwing up. Got to do a second faster next week as well.
may not be your best play. Doesn't matter what training you're doing, you need to be in control the whole time. If you're holding on for grim death in a session, well done. Next time, repeat the same session, or even go down by 2% for a week and then go back up again. Whether you're male or female, you can man up in a number of ways. You can either rely on your hormones, or you can use your higher brain to solve the problem. You can focus on hitting quantity targets and then leverage off your adrenaline and other hormones to make up any deficit, or you can focus on quality and strategize around the problem. But basing your training rules on Pharaoh Ramesses' quote in Cecil B. DeMille's 1956, The Ten Commandments,
so let it be written. So let it be done.
isn't ideal. I mean, did he even lift? So what you're saying is, qualities are where to get hench. Whoa, the Israelites. I hope this helps. Give it a go. Leave a comment below. Slide me a thumbs up. And if you like my vibe, please subscribe. Woo!